Overseas now, and last time we spoke to Lara Trump, her father-in-law hadn't announced his run for 2024. Donald Trump clearly has now. It's been 3 months since the November announcement at Mar-a-Lago, and as always, when it comes to American politics and Trump, there's never a dull moment. Will he be the Republican nominee? Former VP Mike Pence and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis are tipped to contest. Now it looks like former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley is poised to announce a run too, even though she promised not to if Trump did. This is a video she shared this week. You make up your mind.
America is the greatest force for good in human history, and we should never be ashamed to say that.
For those that don't have our back, we're taking names.
I wear heels. It's not for a fashion statement. It's because if I see something wrong, we're going to kick them every single time.
Well, whatever happens, it's going to be absolutely fascinating and no doubt entertaining as well. Lara Trump, thank you so much for your time. So great to see you. We'll get to Donald Trump in just a moment, but first, Joe Biden's State of the Union address. Sum it up for me in 10 words or less, take 100, whatever you think it warrants.
I mean, terrible lies, inaccuracies, boring, stumbling through his entire speech. I mean, we could go on for the entire interview, Erin. Obviously, it was a disappointment to Americans. There were a lot of lies. I think the only good news for Joe Biden is that the only thing that people were really talking about post his State of the Union address was the fact that the First Lady and Second Gentleman shared a very romantic kiss at the very beginning of that. So that was basically the highlight for everyone, and that is a pretty sad place to be.
Now, we both come from Western culture, but I've never seen that kind of thing before. That's not an American thing, is it, Lara?
No, that is very unusual. I think we are all trying to figure out exactly what happened there. We're going to give them the benefit of the doubt, but perhaps they are just a very close group of friends at this point, and maybe they have a very unique way of saying hello. Who knows?
Okay, now, the president didn't really sound like a president preparing to wrap up his tenure, did he? Would Team Trump prefer him to run again and be the opponent in 2024?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I think it would be, should be an easy win. I think, quite frankly, one of my 2 kids could run against Joe Biden at this point if they were old enough, of course, and beat him handily. The truth is that he has shown the American people just how poorly one can perform if given the opportunity, because you look at the America he inherited from my father-in-law, and you look at how far it has fallen under his, and I have to use air quotes for this, leadership, Erin, because it is a lack of leadership on our southern border that is wide open and is not only allowing millions of illegal immigrants to pour into America, but fentanyl that is killing 100,000 Americans a year. It is the #1 killer of our youth in the country right now. Lack of leadership when last week we saw a Chinese spy balloon traverse the entire continent, traverse our entire country before any measure was taken to get rid of it. I didn't hear in his State of the Union, by the way, how he will hold China accountable for that, what he is saying to Xi Jinping to ensure that we never see that happen again. But you look at inflation, you look at gas prices, you look at how weak we look on the world stage right now. Americans are struggling in so many different ways, whether it's crime in our major cities or the fact that we have such a poor education system right now and our students are falling so far behind. Joe Biden has failed America, and that is why we cannot get to 2024 fast enough, get a Republican in there to make sure we turn this ship around. And of course, I believe that Republican will be my father-in-law, President Donald Trump.
So on your father-in-law, will he be the Republican nominee?
Well, you know, what's interesting with Donald Trump is not only did he change the way that we campaign here in America when he decided to run in 2015, he really changed, I think, the way that people view potential candidates for president, and he changed the face of the Republican Party. So I believe that he will not only be the nominee in 2024, but he will win in 2024 as president of the United States and become the 47th and 45th president. And I think, Erin, whenever you look at any of these hypothetical matchups with Donald Trump versus any potential primary candidate, he is getting over 50% of the vote from the Republican Party. So it's pretty obvious that he is still very popular. He created the current party that we have today. He, of course, spearheaded the Make America Great Again movement and putting America first. And I think people are yearning for that. They need somebody to come in there who has done this job before, has excelled at that job of leading our country and getting things back on track here in America. And that's why I really do think he will be the Republican nominee and the president again come 2024.
Some in your neck of the woods are saying that he lacks energy and he's struggling to raise funds. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, look, I think that we're a little far out. He is the only candidate in the field on the Republican side and the Democrat side, by the way. Joe Biden says he's going to run, but he still hasn't officially declared that yet. So we are a little far out. And if you look back to 2015, it was then candidate Donald Trump, the businessman, who said, I don't even want to take money from big entities. I don't want to take money from big donors because I want to raise this money on my own from the American people. He didn't take a single donation until he became the Republican nominee, don't forget, in 2016. And so I think this far out to look at it and say, oh, he's having trouble. It's a little far out for anyone to say that. I think give it some time. And I think once people see that he does have the energy behind him, he does have the American people and their support behind him, I think the money will roll in just like it did in 2016 and 2020.
Will Nikki Haley roll in and contest him? Will she break that promise she made?
Well, that's an interesting question. We all are waiting to see, but I think my father-in-law said it best. She should follow her heart and do what it is telling her to do. And if you think back again to that original, run for my father-in-law in 2015, he was one of 17 candidates. It was a very crowded field, and he had no problem, knocking each one of those people off to become the Republican nominee. When you look at the fact that, again, he is garnering over 50% of the Republican vote in a hypothetical matchup against primary candidates, having more people enter the field actually might be a good thing for him because those people will then split the other portion of that vote and ensure that he becomes president or the Republican nominee and then, of course, president again in 2024. So I think for him, the more the merrier. If that's something Nikki Haley wants to do, we'll all have to wait and see. But maybe she should just take his advice and follow her heart.
It's generally a family affair when Trump is in the White House. What role are you planning on playing in the campaign and then if he does eventually win?
Well, I don't really know. I'm obviously here to do whatever I can to help. I want to see our country succeed. I want to see Americans get back on the right track, get their feet under them. And obviously, I believe that that is with Donald Trump in the White House. So however he asked me to help him in the campaign for 2024, I'm here to help. I don't have any official role yet. And look, I live in the state of Florida, and I am very happy here, Erin, with my family. So right now, I would have no plans to get in that D.C. swamp under any circumstances. But you know what? You never say never. Crazier things have happened. So we'll wait and see on any of that.
Well, if your kids do run against Joe Biden, then you will need to get into that swamp and look after them.
I guess I will. That's true. That's
Lara
true.
Trump, so lovely to have you back on the show. Thanks so much for joining us. And, of course, we can watch you on The Right View with Lara Trump as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Erin.